Hey Wednesday, I didn't really expect a lot of you to watch the video like you did. A lot of you have commented and said really encouraging things about last week's video, and thank you. Athena, Lucky, I think Edwin, you have said something, and of course those who are always watching the vlog projects. I appreciate you, you people, you individuals. So continuing from last week, you know, the getting to know yourself and getting to love yourself and getting in touch with who you are has been a tremendous experience over the last year. And it's been okay to kind of not have any action behind that, not have any, not producing any work. I've been going to work, of course, but not producing any artistic work, anything creative. It's been okay because I've been focusing on who I am without the labels, not being a writer or a designer or an actor or a comedian or any of those things, just Brendyn, you know. And at some point last year, I came to the conclusion that I am my art. You know, for you know, the longest time I was searching and searching and searching for this thing, and I'm still kind of, you know, in that period of searching. Not so much as I used to be, but when I left ministry, you know, that was where I mattered the most. Working with the kids, working with, you know, kids who are telling you these are 10, 11, 12, 13, 14-year-olds who are telling you that they're suicidal, that their parents beat them mercilessly, that, you know, they're trying to find their identity while trying to hide the fact that they're foster children or that they come from low-income housing or whatever. Listening to those stories, I mattered there, right? People listened to my opinion because, you know, at the time I was an assistant youth pastor, and both the pastor, senior pastor of the church, it was a church of about 40,000 members, both the senior pastor of the church, the executive assistant pastor, the person who was over Sunday school, the youth pastor, and one of the key elders in the church, all of them were mentors. So I could pretty much do whatever the fuck I wanted to, and nobody really questioned it. I could go anywhere, do anything, and say anything, right? I was a church darling. But when I walked away from all of that, which is another story for another time, I didn't matter, which is a shocking realization for, you know, an early 20-something. I don't matter. So you start searching for this, where can I fit? And most people in college or in high school, they find pockets of people and they find identities where they're able to say, oh, I fit here. I'm part of the theater group, or I'm part of the tech group, or I'm part of the sports group, or what have you. And they kind of, that follows them for the rest of their life, those cliques. I never fit in a clique. I was always the kind of person who kind of weaved in and out of cliques and groups of people. I never attached to one specific group of people. It was always a challenge for me growing up. How do I merge all these different groups of people, all these friends from all these different castes of society, or castes of society, I'm going to say caste, C-A-S-T-E, different sections of society? How do you merge all those people? And I couldn't figure out how, so I just kind of abandoned that idea and did my own thing. But, you know, not finding an identity all through teenage years and early adulthood kind of created this stigma where when you don't matter, you have nothing to run to. You have no foundation. My foundation was the church, and when I walked away from that, and then the years, you know, the years following, my value system collapsed. Everything that I believed in was erased, and I started from the ground up. So because of that, it was this search and search and search and search and search, and still this kind of where do I belong kind of feeling. But I've come to a realization that, you know, my legacy and everything that I'm building is just myself, and it's just discovering who you are and discovering what supports who you are. You know, I think that they say around age 5 or so, you've developed your personality, and from that you begin to grow and develop as a human being. So if that's the case, then fuck, I forget where I was going with this, but the point is, I'm trying to talk fast because last week's video was like 8 minutes long. Who has 8 minutes to watch a video, especially when you do sidetrack things like this? But the point is that this past year, I've been working on myself as my art project, right? I have been my project, and that's how this username came out. I am Brendyn. For those of you who don't know, I also use the name Brian, or some of you may know me as Brian and don't know me as Brendyn, which is strange. It started out as a name that I would use at clubs when I went out, because I went out alone, and I didn't want people that I would meet to know my actual name because I wanted to keep me separate from that world. I didn't want them to mingle because I cared too much about what people would think about me going to gay clubs or whatever. Now I really don't give a shit. like I go to gay clubs, and I'm kind of bored of the whole gay club scene and just club scenes in general, for the most part. Uh, but that's where I Am Brendyn came from. It was this declaration of this is who I am. And everybody goes through this sort of thing, right? Early 20s, mid 20s, and even into late 20s, and even 30s and 40s. This is who I am, take it or leave it. There's this theme that's been kind of scratching at me, which is, giving zero fucks. A few people have said it. Yo, you give zero fucks, like you really just don't care. And I didn't recognize it at first, I've always seen myself as detached and just kind of like floating through or whatever. But the reality is that I don't give a fuck, like I don't care. But the flip side of that is that I do care a lot, or there was a moment that's fading now where I cared so much about how people received me and whatnot. But this past year, to wrap up this two-week video, this past year has been amazing in learning to love who I am aside from labels. And now finding out that I'm bored with, not with who I am, but with just not doing anything. I need to produce some kind of creative something, some kind of art. So with that said, this is the year that I'm coming back to YouTube. What? Yeah, for those of you who, I've said this so many times. I'm gonna start the vlogging thing again, but we'll see what happens. Thank you for watching. It's a little shorter than last week's video. And I really do appreciate you guys. And the goats in the vlog projects, Jimmy, Jeremy, John, and Eric. Guys, we don't talk a lot. We don't get to talk a lot. I think the person I talk to the most is Eric. But the rest of you, I really thank you, and I'm grateful for this platform that we're all creating together. So yeah, that's been my day, or my 2 weeks, Wednesday. I hope you have a wonderful rest of the day. You have a wonderful, bye now. Yeah.